Welcome to the A Better Way Athletics podcast, where our mission is simple. We want to help restore the joy of sport for parents, coaches, and those athletes whom we say we care so much about, but so many times we pull them in different directions. So I hope today, wherever you're at, wherever you're sitting, wherever you're standing, wherever you are driving, that we will help restore some of that joy as you watch your child or you coach those precious athletes on the field, on the court, or wherever you may be. Our guest today, oh my gosh, this guy has become a rock star just in the last few weeks. His first at bat in Major League Baseball, this guy hits a bomb home run at his first at bat. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but from Kennesaw, Georgia, not too far from where A Better Way Athletics resides, we have Mr. Tyler Stephenson, now playing for the Reds. He's in Cincinnati today. He says it's raining there, but this guy's got a smile on his face because great things are happening in his life. Tyler, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So Tyler, listen, you every kid in America, even me, I never, at about 8 years old, I realized it wasn't going to happen for me. It was pretty quick in my journey, but every kid in America, it's their goal to play, NFL football, Major League Baseball, play in the NHL, NBA, whatever. You actually made it. You made it. As that journey kind of unfolded, who was the most influential person in your life?
I mean, it's got to be my parents. Like, obviously, they've been with me, obviously, from the get-go and stuff, and just the support that they've had throughout the process, because obviously where I'm at, it's not easy. Like, the grind and the struggle I've had, and, I mean, they've been there for me my whole life, so, I mean, and they're going to continue to do that. I mean, that's just them parents.
Yeah. So for all of our listeners out there, I always say there's one role that is so critical, and it's the role of a parent. For all of you parents out there listening, listen, we got a guy here where he's made it, where we want all our children to make it. But for all of our parents that are out there listening, man, there's one role that you can never exchange, and that's your role as a parent. Your kid's going to have a ton of coaches. They're going to have a ton of teachers, but there's only one person that they're going to call parent. They're going to call mom or dad. So I just want to challenge our listeners out there to make sure that you take that role serious. Tyler, give us some insight onto, so the Stephenson family, we got little rock star Tyler growing up. TP's told me a little bit about, y'all's career at East Cobb. I mean, obviously you had some great opportunities, but give us some things for our listeners out there. Hey, here are some things my parents did well as we navigated this athletic journey.
I mean, they just they never overdid it. So my dad.
Hey, Free, say that one more time. Say that one more time for all of our listeners out there. Listen to this one more time.
Never overdid it.
They never overdid it.
So my dad played high school football, I think, for 2 years. My mom was in the band. Obviously the genes, I don't come from a super athletic family or by any means and stuff. And just from a young age, they said I picked up a baseball bat, and kind of from there on out, it was just baseball. And at a young age, it was just they never pushed me. I remember my parents, they never once pushed me to go to practice. With me, I'm very self-driven. From a very young age, from what my parents said, I made it clear I wanted to play in the MLB. And obviously, there's luck and there's a lot of hard work that kind of falls into play and stuff. But I was the one who always wanted to go hit, practice. So, I mean, there's a fine line. There's a balance, I think, between, obviously your support with your parents. And, I mean, what they've done, TP knows the amount of times we would go to Florida or Orlando or East Cobb to play games, and on Sundays being in the losers bracket and playing 4 games in a day. Just what they've done and sacrificed, really, I mean, it's everything. And obviously it's a blessing for what they've done and stuff. But
So you used a term, and the term was self-driven.
Yeah.
I love that term, self-driven. One of the things that I often say is the greatest coach in your life is the person who stares you back in the mirror.
I 100% agree with that. Everything about it.
I mean, I have seen elite level athletes come from every place, every culture, every socioeconomic background, every race, every gender, but there's one thing that's in common for the majority. Now, there are the exceptions to the rule who are just, I mean, they're so genetically gifted.
Yeah.
But for the ordinary, normal person that makes it and pursues excellence in anything, it's the ability to look myself in the mirror and say, I need to do these things to be successful. So I love that word self-driven, because I think a lot of times in the sport journey today, we almost are convinced we can purchase it. You know what I mean? Well, if I could have just played East Cobb, or if I could have just been in this situation, then I could have made it. Or if I had better circumstances, then maybe I could make it. Speak a little bit from an athlete in light of that term, self-driven. Like, what does that look like in an athlete's life? And what are some of those attributes, like daily attributes, that for every athlete or every parent out there listening, you would say, hey, here are the things we really need to be cultivating on a daily basis?
Oof. I don't know if I can really focus it or narrow it down. It's just like I don't know. It's just very internal, and it's just the want and drive that you have. Like, I know one of our pitchers, Michael Lorenzen, just like, if you don't have the mindset of being the best, like, of all time, then you're just cheating yourself, because it's like you never give yourself the full opportunity to reach your full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, who knows what tomorrow brings or anything. I mean, really. So it's like, if I can just go out every day, give it my all, and 20, 30, 40 years down the road, because baseball, I'm not going to be able to play for forever. It's like, especially anything with sports, it's such a small sample size of your life or anything like that. Like, if I can go out every day and at the end of the day say I did everything I could to get better. Like, a lot of people talk about like the 1%. If I can get 1% better every day,
yeah,
then obviously, I mean, you're going to continue to get better. I mean, that's kind of how I view everything.
Yeah. And if you're going to get 1% better every day, you have to show up every day.
Exactly.
You got to be present every day. You've got to be emotionally there every day. You've got to make sure you're taking care of your body every day, so that 1%, can begin to multiply, because that 1% over the course of a year or 2 years or 3 years, all of a sudden that starts looking like a ton of progress. And I think that's where people get bogged down, is it is not just a quick fix, man. You don't just step out there one day and it happens. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
Yeah. Like, obviously people are like, oh my, or like professional baseball player, like all this stuff. Like, I mean, they just, like, from the fans' perspective, like, it just seems like this great lifestyle and stuff, but like, it is a full-time job of nutrition, recovery, scouting reports, analytical stuff. Like, I mean, just for like an average day, like waking up in the morning, and then, like, I'm on my iPad right now, but like going over scouting reports, taking notes, and then going to the field, and then working out and doing, like, I mean, it is it's a work schedule. But like, obviously I'm not sitting behind a desk, but in terms of hours and everything else, it's the same.
But you have to put your yes on the table and say, hey, I'm willing to do these things. And I think that's as we look at athletes today, and one of the phrases I often use as we work with parents and coaches is, it's crazy today how many kids have gifts and skills. Like, kids are more gifted and skilled than we've ever been, because we have access to so much stuff. I mean, you can watch the best coach in America on YouTube. But what's unfortunate, and it's why I love sitting here with you this morning, because you have demonstrated this, but it's unfortunate, but so many kids today, they have gifts and skills that get them to a room that their character won't allow them to stay. And I know that you see it even at the highest level. Sometimes a kid makes it to high school and he just doesn't have the character to hit the reset button and do the work. And then you have a kid who, he makes it to college, but you can be a great high school player, but when you get to college, you got to put all the work in again. And then you make it from high school or college. I mean, fortunately for you, you got drafted right out of high school, but you really have to say, hey, no one cares about my past. I've got to be willing to put the work in again. And so what would you say to parents or coaches to, like, how do we cultivate some of those things in the young people today? Because we see a lot of entitlement and arrogance in the sport world today.
I think that's just in younger kids in general. Like, I feel like they're more spoiled than what I was, like, growing up and stuff. And I mean, you'd be surprised, like, the amount of guys that I've seen throughout my career, like just in pro baseball, who have elite 5-tool, like they can be all-star type of players, but it's just like, one, they're just immature, or just like they just don't have that drive. And I mean, you always talk about it, like your hard work always pays off, which I do believe in. Like you said, like there are those guys that are just unbelievably gifted. They can go out and eat McDonald's every day, and they're going to have a perfect six-packs. I mean, it's just
yeah. It just is what it is. Not fair, but it is.
You have your LeBron James, you have your Mike Trouts, like you have those guys that just you can't even explain it.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of it. But
for the ordinary person in Major League Baseball, it's about doing the right things. I mean, it is about eating right, and it's about recovering well, and those things are cultivated over time. And it's one of the things that, from a parent and a coach standpoint, we can get so caught up like in the winning the 9-year-old championship that we almost forget to teach kids those things. You know what I mean? Yeah. We forget. We call them, at A Better Way Athletics, we call them long haul attributes. Like if we can cultivate long haul attributes, and here's what's awesome about long haul attributes. They're global, which means they cross all boundaries, and then they're stable, which means they work forever. Like at some point, as gifted as you are at hitting a baseball, you're not going to hit a baseball any longer. But here's what I believe. In Tyler Stephenson's life, no matter what he does, he will be able to take who he is and the character and the long haul attributes that he possesses, and he'll be successful at whatever the next season of life is. And what's unfortunate is I actually feel like the sports world today is we're almost robbing kids of learning those things because we get so caught up in the outcome so early. And again, we almost cultivate this entitlement and arrogance rather than this sense of self-confidence in that young person. And so, looking back on your career, let's tee it up here and say, hey, if you could change one thing about youth sports, or maybe one or two things, if you could change one thing about youth sports that would be beneficial for a young man when they're 19, 20, 21 years old, what would it be? Do you have anything that just comes to your mind?
Well, there's one thing before that. Like, I know something like that my mom has kind of preached. She's like, I don't care what you do with your life, but be the best. Like, if you want to work at McDonald's, she was like, be the best burger flipper there ever is.
That's right. I love it.
That's just, it's just something very as simple as that. Like, whatever you do, whether it, like, obviously baseball now, and then obviously once baseball's done, whether it's coaching or whatever, like, just continue to be the best at it. And obviously, like, I see myself coaching at some point, but just like obviously passing it down to obviously the younger generation, and then it's that kind of just hand-me-down effect and stuff. So
youth league baseball, if you could change one thing, about youth sports that you feel like would be beneficial to kids later on, is there anything you would look at and say, man, we really need to tweak this here? It could be simple, complex, whatever. And we can come back to that question if you want to think about it.
There's nothing that kind of comes off. I don't know. I mean, like, I know all of the in terms of like the baseball world, like the perfect game, like the rankings and stuff. Like, I know that's a big thing. Like, they want their kid to be ranked as, I don't know, top 100 guy, like prospect in baseball or whatever. And like, I think it's bigger now than what, like, when me and TP played, like, Perfect Game and stuff and all the rankings and stuff. But I mean, I did a few showcases just at East Cobb and stuff just because our team had went. But so that's what some people, like, live for is, like, oh, yeah, like, just because my son is rated number 5 in the country, it's like all this stuff. It's like, okay, I mean, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really prove anything. Like, I mean, not to kind of brag at all, but I was drafted 11th overall, and I hardly ever went to any of these things. And I mean, I believe that if you're good enough, they're going to find you.
They're always going to find you.
Exactly. So, I mean, just don't get too caught up into the rankings or anything like that. Just, I don't know. I was always keep my head down, control what I can control. And sure enough, it's kind of worked out.
Yeah, and I think the danger in those rankings, and we live in a comparison world today, man. We have access to everyone's stuff. And for you parents out there, man, when you go there, it just adds stress on your child's life. And so, like, listen, rankings are great, but at the end of the day, a 9-year-old ranking doesn't mean jack or squat. And sometimes those rankings, they create this almost unhealthy pecking order. Like, well, hey, I'll never play in Major League Baseball because I'm not a top 100 kid at 9 years old. Like, listen, no one's even gone through puberty yet. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Well, there might be the one kid, and he's probably winning everything at 10 because he's got armpit hair. You know what I mean?
Hey, just ask TP. There's pictures of me when I was 10 years old, and I was twice the size of everybody. I didn't hit it that early, but
yeah.
I mean, you gotta understand this. The very first time I ever played Tyler, I remember we were at East Cobb. I was playing on the Georgia Legends, and he was playing with the East Cobb Astros. And I got off the field, and I'm just thinking, my God, who is that guy? And my dad says to me, you know what, son? I think you just played against your first round. Oddly enough,
yeah,
7 years later, that came true. I mean, he got drafted 11th overall. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Well, Tyler, let me ask you this. Most influential coach in your life, and why?
So I kind of thought about, like, so I do believe that, I don't know, I'd say that early, like, middle school, like, around that 12 years old, like, I feel like that's kind of the biggest game changer in terms of, like, for a kid who's going to either continue with the sport or kind of, like, veer off and do something else. Like, I really believe that during that time, a coach can have a big effect. If you have a good coach or a bad coach, like, it can obviously split the road and stuff. So Art Evans, obviously TP knows who he is. Like, I grew up playing with him, his son, and he just, during that time, like, I mean, his wife still cuts my hair back at home. Like, I'm still super close with him and stuff. And just the basics of baseball, he helped me kind of fall in love with it during that age. And then for me to continue down that path, and then obviously I get into high school and stuff. And then James Beavers, who I played for my junior year, going into my senior year, he kind of helped me with where I'm at currently with, like, pro baseball and everything like that, just because he's had a bunch of guys like Dansby Swanson he coached. I mean, I could go down the list of guys that he's helped coach and stuff. So, like, to kind of help me mold into who I am with pro baseball and to kind of get my feet wet with that. So kind of a little bit of both of them.
And I love that. I really believe in an athlete's life that it's around, like, the 12 to 14 age range where you really begin to go, okay, I want to pursue excellence in this.
Yeah.
Really anything before that is, it's our parents or, they're the one taking us. And, do you really, people will tell me, like, oh, he's so competitive. I'm like, dude, he throws his bat because he's a baby, not because he's competitive. You know what I mean? Like, when he's getting up at 6 a.m. every morning on his own to get better, or he's studying film, or he's watching games nonstop, then I'll start to consider him a competitor. But just because your 8-year-old hates to lose doesn't make him a competitor. A lot of times it just makes you a baby. And so I really believe that, that 12 to 15 age range is where a young man or a young lady starts going, okay, I see something out there in the distance. I see the cost. You know what I mean? I recognize the cost that it's going to take to get there, but I'm willing to put my yes on the table. And so that's when, I love middle school coaches, because I think at that age is where we really began to say, okay, hey, let's go for it. Let's do this. And obviously that was true in your life, and it made a huge difference. So, if you could, let's talk about your first at bat. All right. So you get drafted, you're playing minor league baseball. I think a lot of people don't realize even, hey, there's a journey even after you get drafted. It's not like they just take you to the big, I mean, I guess some people they do, but for most it works.
Or like NBA, like baseball is very different. Like I'm trying to who was just drafted, like Joe Burrow, for instance, or obviously like everybody else, like at college and stuff, like Joe Burrow was first overall, and he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Bengals or anything like that. With baseball, it's obviously this year's different. It's just 2020 in general, but usually there are 40 rounds in the draft versus, I don't know, the NFL has 5 maybe, and same with the NBA, maybe not even. So, I mean, the amount of guys drafted, and then so everybody thinks, oh, yeah, you get drafted and then you go straight to the big leagues and you live this great life. But no, it's not that easy. It's not that great. Like I said, I got drafted and then went straight to Billings, Montana, and would go on 12-hour bus trips all throughout Idaho, Colorado, Montana, you name it. I never did ever think that I'd be playing baseball out in Montana.
Yeah. And so those first few years weren't like this luxury, you just have people waiting on you. I mean, you're riding a bus. I mean, you really are. You're putting in some long, hard hours to pursue this dream of one day getting the call, getting a chance to walk out there. And so you put in all this work, and then all of a sudden that day comes, you go from Billings, Montana, spend a year in Chattanooga, Tennessee. All of a sudden you get the call, you head up to the big leagues, and then your first at bat. All right. Tell me, give me the journey from the dugout to home plate. What's going on in Tyler Stephenson's mind?
So kind of backstory. So obviously if anybody is familiar with baseball with this season and stuff, so you have your big league team, and there's 30 guys with the big league team. And then they have an additional 30 guys at a taxi squad, like a B team. Obviously, just in case there is an outbreak, then they have guys to kind of pick from. So originally I was a part of that. And it was on a Sunday that I was at the B team. We were having an inter squad. We were just getting ready to play in our game. And then our field coordinator pulled me out of the locker room and said, hey, pack your bags up. You're going to the big leagues. What? Right now?
So it really was that. It's that wording too.
Yeah.
In the movie, hey, pack your bags.
And he was like, pack everything up. You're getting called up. I was like, right now. And he was like, yeah, the game's in 30 minutes. So I'm I'm 20 minutes from Cincy. And so one of our players woke up not feeling good. And so we have to do this home screening on our app. If you have a fever or anything like that, obviously they don't want you to come in the field.
Yeah.
He didn't test positive at all or anything. But they just obviously wanted to be careful. So, I mean, my heart rate probably jumped about 180 right then. And
I love it.
So I called my parents, called my girlfriend. I was like, hey, can't really talk right now. I got to pack up, but I'm getting called up. Bye. And obviously they're all like, what? So I go in the locker room and pack everything up. And then I mean, luckily I didn't get pulled over. I was definitely going over the speed limit when I was going down there, but I had a good excuse if I did get pulled over.
Yeah.
But so I obviously go down to the stadium, And so I get down there, and the game had already started. So I was
You're late for your first game.
But it was expected because it was
not your fault, but like you literally are pulling into the stadium and stuff, and like the game is going. That is hilarious. I love it.
It was
keep going.
literally 30. It was a very late scratch out of the lineup. So I get down there, and I don't play at all, but obviously I was in the dugout and everything, and it was cool. Like, we were playing the Tigers, and it was cool to see Miguel Cabrera, arguably one of the best hitters of all time, like future Hall of Famer, like seeing him in person. And then jump to the next day on Monday. I wasn't starting at all, so we were playing the Cubs, and we're playing them, and then we're down 7-0 in like the second inning. And I don't know, I think I came in the 7th. So fast forward to the 7th inning, the manager, and we were down 7-1, and our manager was like, "Hey, get ready, like you might be going in." I was like, "Here we go, it's about to happen." It's about to happen.
Now let me ask a question here. So like, you don't even really know this manager or anything.
I mean,
or do you?
I do, just from like spring training. And
okay.
It's not like I've never met. I've been around.
So you've been around these people.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So 7th inning, he says, "Hey, get ready. You might be going in." And so we were about to go on the field. So luckily, one of the guys that I caught are guys that I have caught and I was familiar with, so that obviously helped out. So sure enough, I get into the game, catch, and then that next inning, I don't know what I was batting in the lineup, but sure enough, I get up, getting ready to come up to hit. The funny thing is, the pitcher was Dwayne Underwood, who went to Pope High School, which is another local Georgia kid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's funny how it all lined up. And then I remember just walking up the plate, and I was like, "Well, here it is. Here goes nothing." And then first pitch, he throws a curveball for a ball. And then sure enough, he throws a fastball right down the middle and hit a home run. And it's the first time that's happened, I think, for the Reds in like over 50 years. And I think my mom was saying I'm like the 121st person ever to hit a home run on the first at bat. And then obviously we've got the ball.
Oh, wow.
We've got the ball. That's all. And then we have our batting gloves, and then this is what I had to go get. I had to go get the bat.
Nice.
And then this is the lineup card.
Oh, like that's sweet.
I don't know. It's probably tough to see, but then
yeah.
So
Tyler, I was going absolutely nuts in my apartment when you hit it.
Well, so like, I mean, as soon as it left the bat, were you like, "Oh my gosh"?
Yes, but I was like, I was in such like I don't know, like I legit like blacked out. Like I didn't realize like I mean it's you can't make it up. I mean you can't.
Yeah.
Like you can't put words into it. Like I don't know. So I mean that was the thing is like so we were in a rain delay, so the game started later, and it was probably like 11 o'clock at night, and that's when I came in. I was like, man, I hope like my parents are still up. Like I hope my I mean, that was the biggest thing I was worried about. I was like, man, hopefully, like, same with, like, my girlfriend. Like, I know she went to bed early because she's in PA school, so she's on, like, all of her rotations and stuff right now, so she's having to wake up early. And so before she went to bed, she told her mom, like, "Hey, if he gets in, come wake me up." And then luckily her mom was still up, so they got to see it. And then sure enough, after the game, I had about 200 texts from people just freaking out, and obviously I was too. But I think the coolest part that night was in the 9th inning facing Craig Kimbrell, who obviously played for the Braves. Obviously I grew up watching the Braves, and it was cool just to be like, wow, I watched this guy growing up, and now I'm facing him right now. So
yeah. So was it more nerve-wracking going out to catch, or was it more nerve-wracking getting up to bat?
the funny thing was, like, I was never really nervous at all. And I don't know, I was just super, like, locked in from the get. Like, I think obviously just because it was my first game and I was just, like, super locked in and excited and stuff. But I was just kind of excited more than anything.
Well, it seems like you've been a guy that's been pretty super locked in for a long time, and it's probably why you're sitting where you're sitting today and you're in the position that you're in today. And so, you know, for all the younger athletes out there, man, if you could speak life into the, you know, the 10-year-old, the 14-year-old, the 16-year-old, the, you know, the junior in high school that, you know, we have all these distractions in our life today. And it's so easy to let those distractions kind of, oh man, that's the biggest one, you know. TP and I talk about it all the time. And I often say, as I look back on my tenure as a coach, you know, what separated the great from the average wasn't what they were necessarily doing, because everyone's going to put in a certain amount of work. But it was really more about what they were denying. Like the guys who really came in and overachieved, whether it was the, you know, the 5-star who reached his potential, or the kid that you had never heard of that all of a sudden just lights it on fire. It seemed, as I look back, the pattern was not just their willingness to do the work, but their willingness to deny the things that were a distraction. And so if you could speak into, like, you know, young players today, what's one bit of advice you would give them to help them kind of stay focused and locked in, is the term you just used, on what the opportunities are ahead?
I think you kind of hit it on the nail, but, like, especially just with the phones and social media now, like, it's so easy to get caught up in this made up life of, I don't know, just fakeness. And it's like, I feel like everybody is judged and our lives are run through Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter, whatever it is. And it's like I've deleted my Snapchat, and I mean, at some point I'm probably going to delete all of my social media, just because it, like I'll be getting tagged on stuff, like people just saying harsh things about me. And obviously there's people who say great things, and it's just like, it just plays tricks with your mind and stuff. And it's like, in all seriousness, like, who cares? Like, who cares what Twitter or Instagram really is? Like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna judge you from it or anything like that. Like, it's so easy to get locked into it. And especially the younger generation, like, I think it's even worse for them. Like especially when me and TP were in school, like, obviously it was around, but it's not what it is today, where it's I'm judging somebody because they don't get enough likes. Like, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's a made up life, and it's so easy to get sucked into it, and you just get distracted. And it's like, if you really are determined and want to be successful, whether it's whatever in life, like, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. And who cares if you get more likes than somebody else?
Yeah. Yeah. And so even at your age, in the position you're in, you're still having to make those hard choices. I mean, you're having to say, hey man, this is a distraction. I'm just going to get rid of it. Because those distractions, they just weigh us down. I mean, no one shows up to set a PR in the mile with a backpack on. You know what I mean? You're going to show up with the lightest shoes and the lightest shorts and you know, you're going to run that race as hard as you can without any limiting factors on you. And so I think so many times as we journey toward these things we say are important, a lot of times I think even the burnout and the exhaustion comes from not the work that's being asked of us, but the baggage that we're carrying as we do it. And so, you know, you take a 16-year-old young man or young lady, and the stress of this social media that they feel every single day is exhausting. And so when you eliminate that, it allows you to really lock in on, hey, here is what's most important. And here are the voices that actually care about what's happening in my life. Because listen, the people that are bashing you on Twitter or bragging on you on Twitter, they don't care about you. You know, listen to the voices that really care.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, like, obviously where your friends and family, like, you find out who's there for you and stuff. And like I've got on my phone, like I've got a timer. It's like, I mean, obviously, yeah, like I sit and I go on Instagram, I get on Twitter and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like obviously, yeah, I do that, but like I limit it. Like I think I have like an hour and a half throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then after that, like it locks and stuff. So, I mean, you just have to know what is best for you and stuff.
And that's a discipline, and I applaud you for doing it, and that's why you're going to continue to be successful. So let's do a little speed play here. Just a couple of questions. Favorite athlete growing up?
It had to be Chipper Jones. I mean, being an Atlanta guy, like,
yeah,
he was the face. I mean, best switch hitter potentially of all time. I'm a Hall of Famer, so.
Awesome. Favorite food?
Good old steak. You can never go wrong with a good old steak.
Southern boy and loving that steak. All right.
That's not really, like, I like food too much. Like, I mean, you put anything in front of me, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to eat it all. Oh.
So you're not picky?
Oh, heck no.
Yeah, me neither.
Thanksgiving or any family gathering, oh.
Have you been to the Montgomery Inn up there yet?
I've not.
Oh, man,
I've heard about it. So I need to go to Montgomery Inn and Skyline Chili. I mean, if there are any Cincinnati locals listening, I don't know. I still haven't found my way to Skyline Chili, and obviously everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
But Montgomery Inn, I have heard a lot of good things about.
So let me ask you this: favorite movie, all-time favorite movie?
Probably Forrest Gump.
Awesome, man. That's good.
My dad knows about every line of that movie. Anytime that it's at home, he has it on. So
yeah, I love it. I try to sit down and make my kids watch it too. It's like an educational. It's like it truly is. Like it takes you through history almost. All right, one word. If you could be remembered in one word, what would it be? I know that's a tough question.
I mean, there's one word. I don't have a glove with me, but it's something that kind of means a lot. Like to our family, it's enjoy. Like that's something that my grandpa always says. Like the word of the day is always enjoy. Just like enjoy, because you never know when it's going to be your last. Mm-hmm. So like on all of my gloves, I don't have a picture at all, but like just imagine like a baseball glove, a catcher's mitt. Like on all of my gloves, I have the word enjoy, like written in. It's just a reminder, obviously, every day to enjoy it. Just like, especially the position I am today, like enjoy the moment, because obviously I'm not going to be here for forever. So
that's
obviously
so good.
It's remembered for, but the word enjoy means a lot kind of to me and my family. Well,
I mean, listen, you want to be remembered as someone who enjoyed it each and every day, man. And I think when that's our mission, then other people enjoy being around us, and coaches enjoy coaching us, and teammates enjoy playing with us. And so, man, what an awesome, like, I mean, I didn't know that about you. And at A Better Way Athletics, our mission is to restore the joy for parents, coaches, and athletes, because I saw so many parents and so many coaches and even so many young athletes that we were doing these activities that were supposed to be fun and they were supposed to be enjoyable, and everyone was miserable. And so I want to challenge for all of you parents out there that are listening, man, take some advice from Tyler Stephenson. And in that game that you're watching, that can seem like the most important thing on the face of the earth, take a step back, take a deep breath, and enjoy watching your child do something that they love to do. And here's what I believe: when we take a step back and we enjoy it, it actually allows them to get better. Because we know this in the sports world, where fear and anxiety increase, performance usually decreases. And we don't want to be that as the parent or as the coach. We don't want to be the one driving that fear and anxiety. We want to be the ones eliminating that fear and anxiety. So Tyler Stephenson, man, dude, I didn't know who you were. I'd never seen you play. I've never been a baseball player, but I've probably watched you hit that home run 50 times, because TP showed me 48 times in the first day. And so here's what I want to say. I want to say thank you for representing the things that young athletes need to be about. They often say you teach what you know, you reproduce who you are. And man, I want to thank you for being a person who represents the good that is out there in the sports world today. I know we talked about social media. Our media loves to portray the negative, but there are so many great people involved in this thing called sport. And we want to put those people on a pedestal, not to make much of them, but to share and cultivate the attributes that they are, because I think we have a young generation that needs people like that to look up to. So thanks for what you do. Man, I pray that you would continue to have success, that you would remain healthy, that you would have some of your greatest days ahead, and truly you would enjoy this journey that you're on in Major League Baseball. So on behalf of Better Way Athletics, as we seek to restore the joy of sport for parents, coaches, and athletes, make sure you tune in to our podcast. Go visit us at abetterwayathletics.com. If you're a parent out there that needs some help, click on virtual training. We would love to help you put sport in its proper perspective and navigate on the sport journey with your child, because your child too could one day be Tyler Stephenson, who knocks one out of the park in their first at bat. But if they're not, here's what we want to make sure of: that we've given them the tools, the qualities, and the character to be successful in whatever room they make it to in this journey we call life. Thanks so much.